We have started to record the most recent session of SPCH 1113, Introduction to Public Speaking, for the first summer session. It is Thursday, June 16th, 2022. I thought we got off to a positive start 24 hours ago with the first day of persuasive speeches. There are some things which all of you can work on. First and foremost, when it comes to putting your slides together, always remember that if you are using Loom, your primary consideration is where you are going to place the webcam. Leave it in place and do not move it. That will have an impact on your grade if it continues to bounce around like a ball, because that's taking away from the thrust of your presentation. The other thing is this. I've indicated to some of you, do not send me materials through your cell phone. They don't format exactly the same way. We won't get a full screen. Please make certain that if any of you are in that category, that you go back into your files, into your Loom, and resend me anything that may have been originally given to me on your phone. Do it from your computer so it's full screen. That gives me the opportunity to possibly incorporate it onto my website. Whenever we are looking at the overall rhetoric of your presentations, do you look and sound persuasive? I think we're coming along fine. There certainly, with all of you, are lessened amounts of vocalics, ers, ahs, ums, uhs, drop Gs, issues with any type of grammar, but I think it is also relevant that when you're watching the videos, a couple of other items come into play. Make certain that if you are using Loom, that you have access to the timer close to your webcam so you can always make certain that in terms of time management, you're doing fine. You don't want to run too long, because then you run the risk of repeating yourself. And always remember that when you've got that webcam on, anything that you do with your hands or any movements that you make are going to be accentuated. So always be aware that you should have a formal presentation to the camera and that you're not always looking down at your notes. You should be, as much as possible, trying to establish and maintain eye contact with your audience. Always also have in the back of your respective minds that when you graduate, sometimes there may be a Zoom, Z-O-O-M, a Zoom online interview rather than something face-to-face. This class is a perfect template for practicing that evaluation on camera. And because we are looking at self-evaluations with many of those video takes on Loom or YouTube that you keep and don't send to us, the self-evaluation speech critique, of course, is going to be due next week. I'll be talking about that, the wildcard presentations, Monday through Thursday. We've had some computer updates during the week. I've had some meetings during the week, so my recording times have been in the evenings for the last 3 class periods. But when we return on Monday through Thursday, it's going to be from 12 noon until 2 o'clock. So if any of you want to join me, that's certainly acceptable. In the evening, obviously, it's a little bit of a different kettle of fish, because I want to make certain that I'm recording on the days in which classes are scheduled on the syllabus. But without any further ado, what were we doing yesterday? Where can you go to access evaluations of your classmates and yourself? We are first going to go to the student preview mode on Blackboard and remind all of you that videos are available for your viewing 24 hours a day. This includes everything that you see here from Persuasive Speech Day 1. You go to the next page. All of this data, including everything that you've sent me, is available with our class sessions, with this being 15 out of 19 for the term. Then, when you go to the course syllabus, our itinerary for next week is as follows. Those are all 19 course sessions on the screen. Monday, June 20th, wildcard speech research. Tuesday, June 21st, wildcard speech topic selection. Wednesday, June 22nd, wildcard speech, day 1. Thursday, June 23rd, the last day of the first summer session, wildcard speech, day 2. On Monday, not only will we be talking about wildcard speech research, but a deep dive into what students have done in the past when it comes to the self-evaluation speech critique. It's not designed to be negative. How have you improved, and how potentially is this going to help you in whatever your career might be? A lot of you probably have some ideas even right now what you would like to do after graduation, or what you want to do as a vocation. And with that in mind, always remember that the self-evaluation form is going to be a big part of the speech evaluation process. So in those 7 content, 7 delivery, or 7 visuals items, always use those to try to help you as you're working through the semester. Then with the syllabus, and I showed you this 24 hours ago, let's go to page 4. Because with all of the materials that we're working on, the 20 points for each of the presentations, the 10 points for the self-evaluation speech critique, the 10 points for class participation, all are going to be vital in your long-term success. 90, 80, 70, ideally nothing below that unless you just haven't turned in any projects during the first summer session. So with that, you know that I am a big proponent of video playback. Let's return to what we were examining yesterday for persuasive speech, day 1, snippets of class. Most importantly, what your classmates were doing for topics, for research, and how they are improving as communicators. We pick it up with my opening remarks, and then we will move on to, in a couple of minutes, our first presenter of the evening, which is Gabriel. It is Wednesday, June 15th, 2022. This is Persuasive Speech, day 1. I have a number of presentations that I'm going to play, but I want to go through some material that's related to course data before the end of the semester from Blackboard and from my Yahoo email address, the time from Google Drive, a little bit from YouTube. For the record, let's incorporate bits and pieces of yesterday's course session, your benefit. This is what it looks like when she sends me her presentation, which is 3rd on texting and driving.
Preschool students learn important math and literacy skills needed for kindergarten. Kindergarten has gotten much harder than it was in the past, and there are far more skills needed to succeed in kindergarten. Preschool students work on alphabet songs, rhyming words, stories, and then they work on math things such as math games, counting games, and sorting games. These will all be important when they go to kindergarten, and it makes them less likely to fail kindergarten and get held back. And
so many laser lights stuck together that they would look like pixels on a TV screen. You would need millions of these laser lights, which were not very easy to come by, especially because of the fact that the commercially available laser lights were all red. This means that if they would have tried to recreate it, it would have looked like a bad imitation of Mars, give or take.
Texting while driving until after the fact, and it's not a good thing because anything can happen at any given time. When you're driving and someone texts you, most of the time you're going to respond. It's just the automatic reaction and habit that most of us have. But what happens when you're the one driving and you look down to text someone and you look back up and you're in a wreck or in any type of accident? Then you want to think about it. Well, it's too late.
presentation in the past, whether it be on Microsoft PowerPoint, Google Slides, or any of the new technologies that are in the marketplace right now. Make sure that you go slideshow from beginning, and we get rid of all this. That way you're not clicking on each individual slide.
What is it? An extracurricular activity can be academic activities, sports, student government, community service, fun hobbies that you like to do, and educational clubs.
Is to know if they don't think the person can defend their own self, which will get me into this. What is considered bullying? Bullying is when someone repeatedly and on purpose says or does harmful things to.
You need to make very aware of where you are on camera and try not to touch your eyes. Remember, this is a professional presentation. Always be aware that the camera is watching you all the time. Move the cursor. Probably a good idea to take the timer and put it right here, because you ran long and some of the things that you said you basically repeated more than one time. I would say in a class like this, anywhere in the area of 10 minutes have improved a lot. Obviously, as we wrap things up with the wild card presentation next week, there's still work to do. Please make sure that on the days of the graded presentations, you're watching your particular critiques closely, more than once. How you can improve your content, delivery, and visuals. Again, I try to do it in a positive way, but you have to watch them and then practice to make certain that the version that you send me, either on Loom or YouTube, is exactly the one that you want your classmates to see and is recorded for posterity. All of us have shown demonstrable improvement, but let's make certain as we wrap up persuasive speeches in less than 12 hours with day 2 that we continue that improvement for all of those areas as we enter the last week with wildcard speech preparation. As for SPCH 1113, Introduction to Public Speaking during the first summer session of 2022, that concludes the recording session for today. As you can see, we had some really thoughtful, persuasive presentations. Are they going to be perfect, even 3 out of the 4 presentations into the term? No, but this is a lifelong process. That's why whenever I'm giving you positive, constructive criticism, you should take it that way. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to be helpful in looking at those videos. Don't touch yourself. Don't stare down. Make certain that you are faithful to the time as listed on the syllabus. Not too short, not too long. Make your points and move on. All of that really does matter. And where are you going to go in addition to Blackboard to find all of those videos? I always show you that available on page 3 of the syllabus is not only a link to my Twitter account, but also a link to my website. And that's where we're going to go next, to always remind you that these course videos are available in more than one place. At this location, as you're well aware, you scroll through that shining face that looks familiar. I wonder who that is. You just continue to go almost to the bottom. I've indicated on more than one occasion, guys, if any of you would like to take my advanced public speaking course in spring of 2023, more than likely it will be face-to-face, usually Mondays and Wednesdays in Overstreet Hall, room 304. You certainly can enroll in it if you wish. There are no prerequisites other than taking this course. Within this window, syllabus, checklist, SAU speech evaluation form, course examples of YouTube from spring 2020 during the pandemic, or at the height of it at least, when we had to leave campus, the course itinerary, which I just showed you a moment ago, the course speech schedule, which we'll get to, before the end of class today, all of the demonstrative, informative, persuasive wildcard materials. But at the bottom, and this is what I wanted you to see, beginning with day 1, this is everything that we have done so far. Right now, these add up to 14 videos, including right here, what we were just looking at, snippets of Wednesday's Persuasive Day 1 speech session. The option to look at yourself here or on Blackboard Collaborate Ultra is just so critical to your long-term improvement. As a writer, a researcher, a speaker, and something that I think is also equally important, a storyteller. When you're putting your slides together, you are a storyteller. When you're putting your webcam in one portion of the screen for Loom, you're a storyteller. If you're putting the laptop off to one side, as you've seen students from the past, and during this term, you've seen Ellie do, you're a storyteller. How can you incorporate all of that into an attractive package where you are, first and foremost, extemporaneous, conversational, and then all of the things that we've talked about during the term: likable, knowledgeable, thoughtful, authoritative. Little things can come into play that will mess up that fine balance, which is looking down, not establishing consistent eye contact, trying to have that confident persona, working the camera in an ethical way. With that in mind, we're going to have a blend of persuasive, informative, and demonstrative speeches. We've got right now a number of persuasive speeches. There were a couple of you that I showed during our last class session who were having some connectivity issues, and you are sending me that material so I can incorporate them on the record during a class session. Which brings us to our first persuasive presentation of the evening, which is Gabriel. Notice I'm going back and forth between day and evening because I'm actually recording this, of course, in the PM hours. Why you should never work in the food industry. As what we did yesterday, we are going to play this, get to the end, mute it, examine his eye contact, his conversational structure with the complete sentences, and whether or not he is speaking in such a way that is persuasive and all of the things we have discussed. Our first presenter of the evening is Gabriel, and here we go.
Hello, my name is Gabriel Reyna Garcia, and my persuasive speech will be over why you should never work in the food industry. This is class SPCH 1113, Summer 1. Now, for a quick food industry recap, it's any establishment that essentially sells food. This will include fast food, restaurants, anything like that. So right here I have a picture of McDonald's, which will be my personal experience. I've worked there for a year and 8 months, sadly. Now, the main reason I got a job was to get money to just buy me a couple things, And so I will be talking about that right now. The amount of money you get is significantly low compared to how much you have to deal with. Things like customers and the amount of work is superiorly higher than the wage. Definitely not a suited job to live anywhere or even raise a family, especially with inflation going on right now. However, at my local McDonald's, I don't know it, but the one I work at, they start you off at $1 above minimum wage, but still not enough for someone to live comfortably or raise a family. I don't necessarily have to do that, but just for future reference for anybody out there. And so for the people, these are going to be the customers that I'm going to be talking about. They are one of the toughest things to deal with at the job. They are rude and entitled, and they need to open their eyes and see that the world doesn't revolve around them. And people who get tired of waiting on the food is another thing. Usually they're at the window for 3 minutes maximum, but they're hollering at 1 minute. Come on now. Their order is way too big for everything to be ready in the next 2 minutes, 1 minute. They get mad for waiting, even though they order the whole menu. I don't know, but that's what happens. And then people who had a long day. I understand that people have a long day, but it's no reason for you to take it out on the crew. The crew gets upset with you as well. It's just not a pleasant experience. And so the people who look at you like they're superior to you, yet they are horrible for being like that. And this happens a lot of times, not even at the workplace, but even hearing people say, like your parents, teachers, oh, what will become of you? I don't want you flipping burgers or mopping something at such place, and that usually includes the fast food restaurants. However, to my knowledge and I've had a lovely experience with working with my coworkers, they are some of the most hardworking people I know, and they are really funny as well. And so, however, there is a flip coin to the coworkers. So, especially top of the list, managers are the top reason a lot of people quit right after they get hired, because managers feel like they're at top of the ladder for some reason and just want to abuse their power, i.e., talking really about you and to you, two different things. And they also overload you with work they can't do or even that they don't know how to do. This actually surprised me. I wasn't sure what to do with that, but I felt good about myself. And this actually happened to me also when I shifted from night shifts to morning shifts. The morning shifts people didn't really like me. Not sure why, but now they're really good friends and I enjoy working with most of them. And coworkers, they will talk bad about you, make up things about you for no reason. I actually had this happen to me for X reason, doesn't really matter. But I just let it fly. You know, I'm still here. I ain't going nowhere. And then coworkers that can't carry their own weight and that you have to carry for them is pretty exhausting. You have to carry your own and theirs, which is already a lot. And I understand if they're new, but they also need to use a little bit of common sense to get put one and two together. And so coworkers that want to boss you around, this gets annoying as well, especially if they haven't been there for as much time as you have. This happens a lot of time during night shifts, not so much in morning shifts. And so calling in and getting called in, there's two different things. And calling in is whenever you say you can't come in for X reason. And then managers and sometimes coworkers will make a big deal out of this. However, they're more forgiving if it's like an extreme emergency. However, a lot of people call in because they can't find their hats, they can't find their attire, which is a dumb reason to call in. You can just come in, we'll probably have an extra hat or two. And so getting called in, however, is being called by a manager. I don't know why they have our phone numbers, but it happens. And they say if you could come in early or if you come in today, because they're short staff. And this usually happens near holidays or any type of sports games, like Magnolia High School's football games, soccer. I'm sorry, we don't have soccer. Baseball, or the SAU's games, football, baseball. You know, all that. And so, are there any upsides? I hear crickets. We don't. And so, thank you. This will conclude my presentation. And P.S. Don't apply to any restaurants. You will regret it. Thank you.
Little power outage there at the end with your ring light, but that's certainly acceptable. What I appreciate about these types of persuasive topics, and you'll see a lot of them on the website, whether they be outlines or audios or videos, are topics that combine research and personal experience because the audience can identify with it that much more clearly or shake their heads when they're in the classroom watching you or when they are online watching you. In this case, via Loom, saying, yes, I work in the service industry and I can identify with a lot of the materials that he is talking about. One of the items that I believe is very critical in your long-term relevance as a speaker is, watch the cursor, put it in closed captioning, continue to watch the cursor, mute the audio, take this all the way back to the beginning, and let's, as we did with Persuasive Speech Day 1, look at the improvement that Gabriel is making with his eye contact and complete sentence structure. So let's watch the first minute or so. Hit play. There is the artificial intelligence, not always perfect, but pretty close. Nice storytelling structure, design consistency with his slides. 2 bullet points, a generic food graphic, and the McDonald's image. 3 more bullet points talking about money. As we're watching this, I still would like the face to be a little bit tighter, but there's nothing that calls attention to itself on the bottom left-hand portion of the screen. He's got his headphones down. He's got the microphone up. And of course, that would come into play if you have any kind of interactivity with audio, so you're not getting an echo effect or double audio. I like the stylistic approach with the webcam, and then right next to it is the timer. I have to be very careful when I'm in full screen because this happens, so I have to move it. So this is roughly the first 90 seconds of his presentation, with the personal experiences really so helpful. Last bullet point. People who look at you like they are superior to you, they're horrible for thinking that. And I think we've all been in situations, not just in the service industry, where something like that happens. And then in this case, going from front to back, eye contact, relatively consistent all the way through. And this is the problem that we have whenever I'm scrolling through. It is when the webcam is in this location, part of it is being obscured, but you can't do anything about it. Still, good quality eye contact. The subpoints here I thought were quite good, talking rudely about you and to you, overload what they can't do, and then right at the end he was talking about Magnolia high school games, and sometimes when you know it's going to be really, really busy. Of course, now with Whataburger on the other side of the highway from Walmart Supercenter, is that going to affect business for the fast food industry in Magnolia? It sure does seem to be affecting it at Wendy's. Not as many people going there. And let's get to, we're in the last minute. Let's pick up the audio and check out how he is concluding his remarks. You recall we were doing that on Persuasive Speech Day 1. How are you encapsulating your thesis?
If it's like an extreme emergency. However, a lot of people call in because they can't find their hats, they can't find their attire, which is a dumb reason to call in. You can just come in, we'll probably have an extra hat or 2. And so getting called in, however, is being called by a manager. I don't know why they have our phone numbers, but it happens. And they say if you could come in early or if you come in today, because they're short staff. And this usually happens near holidays or any type of sports games, like Magnolia High School's football games, soccer. I'm sorry, we don't have soccer. Baseball, or the SAU's games, football, baseball, you know, all that. And so, are there any upsides? I hear crickets. We don't. And so, thank you. This will conclude my presentation. And P.S. Don't apply to any restaurants. You will regret it. Thank you.
And there you go. There is the end of his speech. Looking directly into the camera. Don't apply to any restaurants. You will regret it. There is his cursor, and there is mine. And when you send it to me, I'm always going to have something down here which indicates that it is produced on, in this case, Google Slides. If I want to download this, and I was experimenting with this after I had recorded Persuasive Speech Day 1, the persuasive speech that Scott Graves did on how the moon landing could not have been faked. I was experimenting with downloading it. That's the nice part about Loom. I can download it and then upload it back to my Google Drive, which eventually will wind up on my Google website. That is one of the persuasive presentations. And as always, Gabriel, good job. That's where we can see the improvement, the confidence that you are providing as a speaker. He did have a couple of issues with vocalics, uhs, and drop Gs, but not to the point where they were getting into the way of his overall delivery, because as is the case with all of you, the challenges with grammar, ers, ahs, ums, uhs, the vocalics, the drop Gs, the grammar, gonna, wanna, kinda, I mean, like, those types of things are going to lessen as time goes on, as that smoothness just becomes second nature. So if you're still having some issues, don't stress too much, don't fret. Eventually that smoothness will come to you. Our second persuasive speech for this session is going to come from Skylar, and it deals with something that many in the food industry have to face, which is the minimum wage. Ironically, potentially with the first presentation tying into the second, albeit in an indirect fashion. We will do the same thing here. We will play her presentation from beginning to end and then mute the audio, put it in closed captioning, check out the eye contact and the complete sentence structure. Here we go.
Today I will begin my presentation on whether or not minimum wage should be increased. My opinion on this topic is that it should be, and I will be giving my reasonings as to why I think that way. Why should minimum wage be increased? By boosting the income of low-wage workers with jobs, a higher minimum wage would lift some families' income above the poverty threshold and thereby reduce the number of people in poverty. Around this time, all prices are going up, and the biggest fuss right now is gas prices. They just keep going up. And with the minimum wage, that's where most of our money are going to. People are barely making $30,000 a year, and with taxes getting taken out of our paychecks monthly, that's barely giving us enough money for food, gas, and bills. The federal minimum wage hasn't risen in almost 13 years, and us workers are paying the price. According to CNN on March 22nd, 2022, that was quoted and stated in the article. According to new research released by Oxfam, roughly 32% of workers in the U.S. earn less than $15 an hour. Nearly 52 million people are trying to make it on less than $31,200 a year, or $2,600 a month before taxes, which is not much at all. Okay, on this side over here, I have the Arkansas minimum wage, which is $11, and tip wage, which is $263. Most recent $10 to $11 effective January 1st, 2021, and the most recent major change to the minimum wage law is 2018 by ballot measure. I have a job and I get paid minimum wage, which is $11.25, which is not much according to hours. If I work 31 hours each, because I get paid bi-weekly, meaning I get paid twice a week, and I work mainly 31 hours, and with $11.25, I get paid roughly $350, and that's before my taxes, and so it'll bump down to $300, maybe $20, which is not enough for food. I don't have any bills right now, but gas is horrendous. Like, that's where most of my money goes to, gas and food, and just imagine if I had bills to pay. In November 29, 2021, Georgia and Wyoming Georgia minimum wage is $5.15, and Wyoming is $5.15. as well. Their lowest state minimum wages. Employers in Georgia and Wyoming subject to the Fair Labor Standards Act. On the other hand, most continue to pay the $7.25 federal minimum wage. That is very, very low. So let me calculate. Let me see. $7.25. Like with me, I get paid $11.25. And that's with 31 hours, I'll get paid 320 something. I've said recently. Let's multiply that by 31, which would be $224.75. That's how much, if you can see that, that's how much it will be if they work 31 hours with $7.25 per hour. That's not enough to cover anything. That's gas money. And so just imagine living in those states with those low minimum wages. In California, being the highest country at $14 per hour. Washington and Massachusetts are close behind with $13.69 per hour and $13.50 per hour. Let me calculate that. $14 times 31 hours. That's $4.34, and that's before taxes. That's not much either with minimum wages. And most people that work minimum wage have their own apartments and stuff like that. That's not enough for bills. And with California being one of the most expensive states in the country, that's just not the best to get paid. That's just not great. 3 solid reasonings on what minimum wages, why, that's supposed to say why it should be increased. Number 1, reduce poverty levels. There are a lot of homeless people. Like, minimum wage just is not the lifestyle with the minimum wage is just not livable in this time, like literally. Number 2 is reduce government spending on welfare programs. Yes, I feel like the country would have a whole lot more money, and states would have a whole lot more money if there weren't so many welfare programs. And that, like, minimum wage does not help with that at all, actually. Number 3, increase workers' productivity. I feel like workers would put a whole lot more effort in their work if they were getting paid for all the blood, sweat, and tears they were putting into their jobs. Some people care too much about their jobs and don't get paid enough for it. And we're expected to do our job to the fullest, but don't get the outcome of money. Here are a few pros and cons on minimum wage. I'm going to read a few on the pros. Higher wages for workers, motivation for workers, may increase lower risk for conflict, higher tax revenue, and health improvements. On cons, there are potential job losses. Yes. Outsourcing to foreign countries may trap people in poverty. You can read the list on your own. There are good pros, but there are also some cons. But I'm still on the pro side, because to have a good lifestyle, to be able to live and be happy, they say money can't buy happiness, but I believe money will help you survive. And I just want the listeners to sit back and think, should minimum wage be increased? I believe so, and I feel like I gave pretty good reasons as to why, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation, and that's all.
You can tell she's really trying to be extemporaneous. Notice there at the end, when she is wrapping things up, she pauses for just a moment, thinks about what she wants to say, and then continues. Skylar, the most obvious thing that you need to work on here is the slideshow mode. Remember, please make sure that you guys are watching these videos in real time, because it should be second nature. Slideshow from beginning, and you don't have to click on these individually. I've mentioned that on more than one occasion, so please make certain that you're watching the videos. Her webcam is a little bit larger. It is set up in a nice way. She moved it once, which I'm not crazy about. Again, find a place and leave it there. Good research all the way through, including personal experience as what we saw with our first presenter. Let's mute it, put it in closed captioning, and go all the way to the beginning and check out two things: the eye contact and the complete sentence structure. Here we go. Oh, and by the way, make certain that you put your name on the title slide and the course. Notice, and the silence was intentional, I'm checking out her eye contact. I'm looking at the design consistency of her slides, the font size, the font style. Sometimes people will have, as we saw with the first presentation by Gabriel on the food service industry, actual bullet points. In this case, she is just indenting or going left flush for sentences or paragraph structure, and that's certainly acceptable. They're barely giving us enough money for food, gas, and bills. The federal minimum wage has been basically the same for about 13 years in many states. This is where, if you ever want to check online sources, such as the Consumer Price Index, you can. Let's pause it for just a moment, a little more than a minute into her presentation. The minimum wage has not increased, but in many states they have. She has a graphic coming up that the minimum wage in Arkansas right there is $11. If you ever want to check a resource, and I may do it as we are playing the last minute of her speech with the audio up, look at something such as the Consumer Price Index, because that is something that you can check what the minimum wage would have been many years ago as opposed to what it would be today. So the minimum wage in Arkansas right now is 11 hours, and that was passed by a state referendum a few years ago. She does have an okay. Let's go to the last minute of her presentation roughly. Bump up the audio, leave it on closed captioning, and check out, as we do with Gabriel and our presenters from day one, how she is persuading the audience in her concluding remarks.
Of Maria to feel on the pros, higher wages for workers, motivation for workers may increase, lower risk for conflict, higher tax revenue, and health improvements. On cons, there are potential job losses. Yes. Outsourcing to foreign countries may trap people in poverty. Those are there's you can read the list on your own. There are good pros, but there are also some cons. But I'm still on the pro side because to have a good lifestyle, to be able to live and be happy, they say money can't buy happiness, but I believe money will help you survive. And I just want the listeners to sit back and think, should minimum wage be increased? I believe so, and I feel like I gave pretty good reasons as to why. And I hope you enjoyed my presentation, and that's all.
You may have heard a little bit of typing or my computer, because I did do a computer price index search. This is the type of presentation, and she's got an excellent closing graphic here for the pros and cons of the minimum wage, but you're going to see me for just a moment. Eventually, we will get back to her concluding slide, but I want to show you something that can help you look at inflation. This is the Consumer Price Index. This is from the federal government. In June of 1975, When Gerald Ford was president of the United States, the minimum wage was in the area of $2.10 an hour. What would that buying power from June of 1975 with a $2.10 minimum wage? What would that be in 2022? Keeping in mind before we click on this, that right now in Arkansas, the minimum wage is $11. Has that $2.10 in roughly 47 years kept up with inflation? No. $2.10 in June of 1975 would have the same buying power as $11.45 today. Keeping in mind that what we were looking at in the state of Arkansas is that the buying power is not the same. The federal minimum wage is even lower. Let's return to her final slide. As you're well aware, I have a lot of material open here. I view this as basically what amounts to a live television program. So her concluding remarks are very helpful here in examining the minimum wage. We will mute the audio because we are going to, in this case, just check out her design consistency from back to front. Minimum wage pros and cons. With the closed captioning up, reasonings on why the minimum wage should be increased. By the way, Skylar, in terms of any issues, I did hear some ums and some okays, a couple of drop Gs, but as has been the case with everyone else, not as much as in the past. The tipped wage of $2.63, very striking. But even here, 2021, it's not keeping up with the minimum wage from 1975. So the minimum wage can go up, but if you're not keeping up with other states, the lowest minimum wages, Georgia and Wyoming, are just amazingly low. Still being extemporaneous, look at her eyes. Same thing there, same thing there. And let's make sure that her eyes are open, looking at the camera. And there is her presentation. So for everyone so far, I am seeing improvement. There are elements, obviously, in your case, Skylar, slideshow from beginning. I don't want to see each individual slide on the far left-hand side. That's not the way it should look. So continue to experiment. This brings us to Lexi. And Lexi, I will stay on camera for this. If you've got a computer that's a laptop or a desktop, please make certain that you're sending me Looms from there and not on your phone. If you send something to me on your phone, it will not look the same, such as what we're about to see. That should be a full screen on Loom, which is why in this particular case, our third persuasive presentation of the class session, we are going to take this and immediately put the closed captioning on because there's enough room here to check that out. In addition to the topic, why you should stop drinking sodas. This is audio only. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Alexis Martin, and I'm going to present my persuasive presentation on why you should stop drinking sodas. So we come to the question, what are sodas? Sodas are liquid beverages that we have known around the world to be a liquid flavored based drink that is carbonated to become a bubbly refreshment. Sodas originated from a man named Joseph Priestley from 1767, and the term sodas was basically from it being carbonated to where it had relieved people from sickness. Now we're at the slide of, is it good or is it bad for you? And sodas have been a common factor of becoming a good typical drink around different occasions, but is it the best choice for your bodies, and are they beneficial to your health or are they harmful? some of the benefits I have found in sodas from research, some say that it helps with hydration because of it being a fluid, so it helps from dehydration. It's neutral to having no good or no bad fats in each can of soda. It helps to relieve stomach aches such as Sprite or ginger ale. So whenever you're sick, most of the time people say get a Sprite or ginger ale with some crackers and drink to help relieve your stomach ache. And most of the time it tends to help the break down that acid from the less sugar of Sprite and ginger ale. It helps provide energy because of the calories given. So most of the time, whenever you see like a teacher or somebody in the morning have like a diet soda or something, it basically sort of wakens you up in the morning besides a cup of coffee. And that's why with our next point, diet sodas are considered more beneficial because it has less sugar. So these are the non-benefits of soda. They contain too much caffeine and sugar. So most of the time, whenever you look at the grams chart on sodas, they have a high number of grams of sugar. It provides no protein and it has a bad growth of bad weight. So basically that every time you drink a can of soda, it tends to weaken your body and it tends to weaken the good growth in your body. It weakens your liver, it tends to bring gout, and it's very bad for your health because of the acid inside the soda. It has a high chance on type 2 diabetes to make your health even more bad just because of the fact that you already can't process sugar in your body with type 1 or type 2 diabetes. So each soda that you drink and consume, it tends to make your body not be able to break down the good sugars that you need to have in your body. And as you all know, it really does cause tooth decay. So each time you drink a soda and you don't brush your teeth, or even if you do brush your teeth, because of the acid that is inside the soda and even in the toothpaste, it's trying to fight against each other, and which causes friction in your teeth, and it causes your teeth to break. This is a gram this is a chart showing each gram of sodas and each gram of sugars that's inside each soda can. So every time that you drink a Coca-Cola, it has it has 34.5 grams, which is 8 tablespoons of sugar. So whenever you are drinking at least three three Coca-Colas a day, that is up to 24 tablespoons of sugar. That is not good for your body. For a diet Coca-Cola, it's 0 grams, which is 0 tablespoons of sugar. So it would not make sense for it to be 0 grams or 0 tablespoons if it's originated from the regular Coca-Cola. And with a Sprite, it is 140 kilocalories of sugar, which is up to 8 tablespoons of sugar. The same way with Coca-Cola. With a Pepsi, even shows 31.8 grams, which is 8 tablespoons of sugar. Mountain Dews have at least 9 tablespoons of sugar, and the thin cream ice cream soda shows up to at least 8 tablespoons of sugar. The best substitution that is preferred around the world to drink besides soda is water. Water is one of the best resources that we can have to be able to help with dehydration and also to cut back on the acid and sugar from sodas. Sparkling water is a great substitution because even though it is carbonated, it does not have as much acid nor sugar because it's completely just watered flavored drinks with barely any sugar, and it's just a water-based liquid. And natural juices such as natural pineapple juice, natural apple juice, cranberry juice, the drinks without any grams of sugar that's like concentrated. So basically the concentrated drinks, that means that it's all natural and there are no sugars or acids contained in them. And I hope you enjoyed my slide on is why you should not drink sodas.
Lexi, it's possible that the only way that you can record these presentations is on your phone, but if at all possible, I would really appreciate it, as I indicated a few minutes ago, if you could take everything that you've done so far and send them to me via computer so I'm getting full slides, because it's pretty obvious here you're doing this off of your phone. Quality research, nice slides. I wish they were bigger so we could see them more clearly, because a lot of time and effort is going into this. I am hearing some ums and uhs, which are going to have to be eliminated. For any of you that are presenting without access to a webcam, it will be de facto that we put the closed captioning on the screen to make certain that we are talking in complete sentences. But let's go back to the end and just slowly scroll back. She has, in terms of design consistency, the drink substitutions for water, and continuing to move back. This is probably the best slide that I saw, especially when we're looking at the grams. You have to look really closely, so my voice may get louder because I'm getting right up to the webcam and my computer screen. But from top to bottom left, Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola Light or Coca-Cola Diet, can't read that, and Sprite. Top right to bottom, regular Pepsi, regular Mountain Dew, and something that I can't read, but the calories, as you can see, are quite high. And then when you're looking at grams and other types of things that people are concerned about for different types of beverages, each brand shows how many grams of sugar, and we don't necessarily think about that because it's liquid sugar. Moving back, some of the non-benefits of sodas, caffeine, certainly. Type 2 diabetes, especially if you're drinking anything that has a lot of sugar in it, causes tooth decay. Other non-benefits, continuing to move back. Some of the benefits of sodas, no good or bad fats. Of course, hydration comes into play because if the more caffeine you drink, potentially dehydration can be a problem, particularly as we are right now with hot weather in the summer months. Quote at the bottom, it's not a bullet point, but it's close enough, just like what we saw with our previous presentation from Skylar. This one says diet sodas are chosen more and considered to be more beneficial with less sugar. And then continuing to scroll to the back from to the front, good or bad for you. So again, the design consistency is fine. What are sodas? But you have to look really, really closely. And I've got a large TV screen here, monitor. Sodas are liquid flavor-based drinks that are carbonated or become bubbly refreshments. If you drink them right away, they don't come, they're not flat. Why you should stop drinking sodas, and that is her presentation. So she's coming along, like all of you, with a conversational style. I wish we could have for all of you webcams, but occasionally that's just not possible. That brings us to leftover informative and demonstrative presentations. because as I had indicated, some of you were having some issues with your email accounts or checking in your sent files. In fact, there was one that Zamori sent to my SAU address before I started recording this session. Did you get my presentation? And the answer was no. Double check all of your files. I told you earlier this week that it's not my goal to give you a poor grade just in case there was something that you forgot to send me. There is a delicate balance here. That doesn't mean that someone can send me an email during the last week. Oh, Professor Reppert, I forgot. Can I send you my demonstrative, my informative, my persuasive? No, it doesn't work that way. That is unfair to everyone who has been very diligent in getting everything done on time. If a student is taking an online course, it is his or her responsibility to follow the guidelines that are clearly listed on the syllabus. And you know, from all of these hours of videos, I go into great detail, intentionally repeating myself over and over again on where you can find information, intentionally doing it 90% of the time from the student preview mode on Blackboard and my website and my Twitter feed and my YouTube channel. So with that in mind, let's go to a leftover informative speech that was sent by Henri. We looked at this yesterday, right at the end of our class session, so she would know that I received it. These are mental health issues being addressed in her informative speech. Let's go ahead and play this and make it full screen. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Anaya Wright, and today I'm doing my PowerPoint on mental health issues. What can cause mental health issues? It's a lot of things that can cause mental health issues, but I only named a few. Stressful life situations, medical conditions, financial problems, a relationship with your significant other, relationships between your family and friends, and drugs. How can drugs cause mental health issues? Drugs can cause mental health issues because they can make your mood change. Drugs can make you have a negative outlook on your life, like basically doing stuff that you don't normally do. Like somebody see you out in public and you wasn't like that before, like you was better than that. It can make your negative outlook on life look very bad. Drugs will make you want them every second. They become addicting. You want to just, ooh, let me do this, ooh, let me do that every second. Drugs will make your brain not function right and cause you to do stuff that you normally don't do, like wigging out, just doing different stuff. It causes you to get skinny, it causes you to cut your hair, anything that you normally don't do. Drugs will definitely mess your brain up. Do not do drugs. How can mental health issues affect the person? Mental health issues will cause a lack of enjoyment and unhappiness. It will cause you to be so down. Mental health issues will cause you to be alone, isolate yourself from people, make sure like you don't want to be around nobody, not even your family, your friends, no one. You just want to be to yourself, locked up in a room or in a dark place. If you are a teenager suffering problems, it will cause you not to focus in school and lack work, meaning you will be a lack of attendance to school, you won't do your work, all type of stuff. Mental health issues would cause behavioral and emotional problems. Here go a video that I would like to share with y'all, and it's a little boy. He's suffering mental health issues. I'm just going to show a little snippet of it, just a little boy part.
I saw symptoms of something, especially with his learning. I noticed he was having problems with colors. For me, he wasn't articulative enough at his age. Whenever we have guests over or friends, he would just meet them at the door and jump on them.
I feel it's like a habit you're trying to get rid of. And sometimes you just can't control it because you're so excited. You can't stop. You just want to keep going and going. The teacher told me that they're, thinking that we're going to have to do a psychological educational evaluation on Josh. The psychologist was there, and they're suggesting that it's ADHD. I think this is what school wants it to be because of the negative things that I've heard, about African Americans being labeled. I just wanted to stay away from medication. Why would I put a perfectly normal boy on medication?
When I was younger, everyone always asked about.
There was the little boy. Okay, how can you handle mental health issues? Surround yourself around good people. Counseling is a big one. Set realistic goals. If you know you want to do something in life, like be a teacher, be a doctor or something, set that goal, put your mind to it, and just go for it. Take care of your body. Exercise is a big one. Eat healthy. Have time to yourself. Just spend a day to yourself sometimes. Go eat somewhere by yourself. Like, just do anything to yourself. Take yourself on a nail day, a pedicure, any type of day. Like, just have time to yourself. Avoid self-criticism. That's a big one too. Counseling. Counseling can improve your personal skills. I didn't have to go to counseling before because I was like suffering depression a lot. So I just wanted a counselor, to somebody to talk to, and counseling actually helps. Counseling can help manage anxiety. Counseling will help you make better decisions in life. Counseling will help you become more confident in yourself. If you're not confident in yourself, counseling will definitely help. If you feel like you're not pretty and you are pretty, talk to somebody because counseling will help. Counseling can help get over a phase or a problem that you're going through. Most definitely will help that. You just talk to somebody. It's okay. If you feel like you can't talk to everybody, just pick this one person that you feel like you're very, very comfortable with and talk to them. Counseling will definitely help. In my closing, if you're facing mental health issues, it's okay. Go get help. Help is very needed. Like, just go get help. Put yourself first and don't let anything or anybody stop you from doing it. There's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
And if any of you want to incorporate any type of interactivity as she did, you are more than welcome to. So we will leave it right there for just a moment and eventually get. I wanted to leave it on that particular graphic for the time being for a reason. And Inari, I want you to look at the video right now for this reason. You will recall from watching Persuasive Speech Day 1 that I was talking to Scott right at the end of his presentation on how the moon landing couldn't have been faked, indicating that I use a $12 ring light. I've got plenty of light in the house. I've got really nice, expensive LED lights in the living room, and then I've got 2 torch lamps. But this $12 ring light from Walmart comes in very handy. I have a 31-inch monitor, and it is clamped to the side. Watch. All of you, Inari included, should strongly consider that for your final presentation if you can afford it, or try to find light that is going to be more flattering to your profile, even if it's just something in your living room or your dorm room. Let's return to her presentation. Mental health issues, informative. So what we want to do right here is to just make sure that we flatter your face And the other part of it is look closely. If she's going to go upper right, you always, she or anyone else, work the text around it. Start with this template and then work around it so nothing is obscured. Because here, counseling, the text is obscured. Then we move on to how can you handle it? Again, it's obscured. Same thing here. Same thing here. Same thing here. A little bit, but it's not too bad. So this is the type of thing. Will this affect someone's grade if I can't see the text? Yes, but it would only affect the score by 1 point. So let's say an 18 becomes a 17 or a 17 becomes a 16, but you always need to make certain, because this is not the only individual it's happened to. This is a really good speech, and she's been very consistent with excellent research and thoughtful, expressive, conversational delivery. But all of you have to make certain, whether it's here or here, you have to just move the graphic or tweak whatever stylistic approach you have so we don't have to guess as to what is being listed as a headline. Always keep that in mind. Here's the end of her speech. Trust me, right there. Now, from this point, let's assume this was the beginning. Take all of the material, the headlines, the text underneath with the bullet points, and then just work around it. That's all you have to do. That being said, I thought she did an excellent job of research and extemporaneous, realistic, empathetic delivery, because mental health issues are really important for everyone to be concerned about. And the inclusion of the video was really a relevant way to express the issue in human terms, looking at the young child. Don't call it a PowerPoint. Call it an informative speech. Don't ever call it a PowerPoint. That's why we go through all of these presentations. You never hear anyone say, I'm going to do my PowerPoint on. That's inappropriate for a class like this. She sets up the introduction properly, what can cause mental issues, whether it be any of those bullet points with the transitional device into how drugs can cause, I'm guessing that's mental health issues, but we can't see it clearly. That's where we have an issue with the template. We just take this and either move the text over or make this an entire color, because usually when you have a template like this, the text is going to start somewhere in here because it's more right flush, depending upon the template you use. Always remember, slides go is a relevant option. Now let's get into the last minute of her presentation, as we've been doing with everyone else. Leave it in closed captioning, open up the audio, here it is.
To somebody, because counseling will help. Counseling can help get over a phase or a problem that you are going through. Most definitely will help that. You just talk to somebody. It's okay. If you feel like you can't talk to everybody, just pick this one person that you feel like you're very, very comfortable with and talk to them. Counseling will definitely help. In my closing, if you're facing mental health issues, it's okay. Go get help. Help is very needed. Like, just go get help. Put yourself first, and don't let anything or anybody stop you from doing it. There's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
A very solid conclusion. Put yourself first. And that is one of the leftover informative speeches. If you don't see a score in the grade center, or you're going back and you're wondering, why is my video not being evaluated during a course session? That's the reason why. I didn't receive it. If you don't see it, I didn't get it. Now we're going to move to the other presentation that I showed you 24 hours ago. This is Mariah's demonstrative speech that we are incorporating for the record. It is on cardiopulmonary resuscitation, something that obviously is of extreme importance, that over the decades has saved countless millions of men's and women's lives here and around the world. So this is a demonstrative speech on CPR from Mariah.
I did my topic on CPR. CPR can be really scary to do, but it's always important to know how to do it. You never know who might need saving. A lot is going on in the world, and no matter where you're at, if someone passes out, you don't want to look around, seeing if anyone is going to help, then you can be the one to help. First thing you want to do is do anything that might wake them up. You can shake them or shout and say, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" If you get no response, call 911 or tell anyone around you to call 911 immediately. Don't sit around and think that someone is going to call 911 for you, because they're also seeing if anyone is going to call 911. So tell them to call. Next, if the person is not already placed on their back, it's good to place them on it. It's always good to have them on a flat surface. Now it's time to give them 30 chest compressions. You need to put both hands in the middle of their chest and make sure your elbows are locked. Don't worry about if you're going to hurt the person. The only thing you need to be worried about is getting blood flowing to signal the brain. Here is a video on how it's done.
Don't pay full price on Apple when you can do this instead. Me Capital One Shopping. So this video will
After that, I know some people don't like putting their I know that some people don't like putting their mouths on other people, but remember, this is life or death. It's time to open their airway and give them 2 breaths, and make sure that the head is tilted and that you're allowing air to exit. Here are 2 pictures showing how she's tilting the head and how she's allowing air to exit. She's holding the nose and the mouth. And here is another video on how it's done. And as you can see in that video, he was allowing air to exit also. Last thing you would do is just keep repeating the steps. 30 chest compressions and 2 breaths. If an AED is close by, use it. If you don't know how to use it, it tells you every step. Here is a picture of what an AED looks like, and here are where the 2 pads will be placed. And here is another video to help you better understand all of it. And remember that the ambulance is on the way. That's the end of my presentation.
Mariah, here the obvious thing. This is a demonstrative speech, so occasionally people aren't doing it. But slideshow from beginning. You're making it far more difficult than it has to be when you are trying to drop and drag the link and put it in a different window, because when you are here, ideally, whenever you're dropping and dragging a link, all you have to do is to make certain that you go to the last digit of whatever this link is, click enter. It will be underlined, meaning that it's interactive. So if this is in a slideshow presentation, it will automatically open in a different window. Some of the video clips that you played, it's very possible that you wanted the audio to be heard instead of your voice, but we're not hearing it. In this case, because it's a demonstrative speech, it's not going to have any bearing on your grade. Let's go back to the beginning, put it in closed captioning, mute your audio, double check your eye contact to the webcam, which needs to be tightened up, and then also the complete sentence structure. The information provided, Mariah, in the first CPR graphic after your title slide is appropriate because it can be scary. When we're in a face-to-face class, if someone is actually talking about the process, at least before we were in an interactive classroom, they would mimic the process and not do it, because that can be dangerous, obviously, if it's performed on a live person. You never know what's going on. That's why first responders obviously are really important in circumstances like this. Eye contact is relatively consistent. This is a transition to the next slide again. That's why the slideshow mode is so helpful. Eye contact relatively consistent, looking in the direction of the webcam. Ideally, I'd like you to look directly at the camera instead of down at the slides. But with that as an introductory speech, it's not going to be overly negative grade-wise. We're exactly at the 1 minute point before the end of the demonstrative speech. Let's go ahead and play this with the audio up. I'd probably also take the timer and move it closer to where you've got the webcam. in this case, with your webcam being right above the hands performing the CPR, it's not that big a deal. Nothing is being obscured to a great degree. At the bottom of the screen, we can see that you are in the final 30 to 40 seconds of the presentation. So after this video is concluded, we will hear you with your closing remarks. Again, when you're doing something like this on Loom, we just saw in our previous presentation from Skylar that we can hear the audio clearly. Or from Henri for mental health issues, her informative.
And remember that the ambulance is on the way. That's the end of my presentation.
And pretty good job most of the way of trying to speak in a complete sentence structure. Like you to look at the camera a little bit more, play around with wherever you want the webcam to be, so nothing is going to be obscured in terms of text. But still, considering the fact that that was your first presentation, I'm glad that you sent it to me more than once so we could play it and you could grade it for the record. There are things that you can work on, but it's always at the beginning of the term a work in progress. Which brings us to our last presentation of the evening. We'll go back into my SAU email file and my Yahoo email file just to double check to see whether or not anything has been sent to me. This is also from Lexi, obviously presented on her cell phone, but she wanted to make certain that I got it, and I want all of you to make certain that it has been sent. This is her informative speech. We saw her persuasive speech a little while ago on the topic of why you should stop drinking sodas. This is her informative presentation. And as you can see by the date, it was done last week, so there's not a problem with it being submitted to me after the fact, not a problem at all, Lexi. This is her informative speech on the importance of texting and driving, again, because of the smallness of the screen. Looks like it was done on her cell phone. We're going to leave the closed captioning on. This is her audio. We've already got it bumped up all the way. This is the final presentation of the day.
Hi, my name is Alexis Martin, and I will be presenting my informative presentation on the importance of no texting and driving. So, owning a driver's license is like the basics of driving. So, when you have your driver's license, it indicates and it shows to others and police officers that you have been permitted to drive and you've been given permission to drive by yourself to any destination, whether it's in your hometown or city or in and out of state. And it tells them that you have learned and you are taught the knowledge of driving in permitted or even prohibited areas in and out of state, that you have passed the written part of the driver's test, and you know the knowledge and you understand the basics of driving and how to handle any situation on while you're driving. So my next slide will be on the rule and the issue of texting and driving. And texting and driving is one of the main rules that's broken almost every single day. From the driver's manual, it explains how it is against the law to text and drive. And I'm going to my next slide with the type of distraction that texting and driving gives to others and gives to yourself when you text and drive. For one, it gives the visual distraction. That means that it's taking your eyes off your focus on driving while you're in traffic, and then also while you are trying to control the wheel in your car. And the cognitive distraction with texting and driving, it's taking your focus off maintaining speed on the road and also maintaining balance while trying to figure out what to do while you're in motion of traffic. So the effects of texting and driving are very, very, very difficult with certain situations, but the basics of that is it can cause accidents, and with accidents, you are 2 times the chance of being involved in an accident. But besides being involved in an accident, it's 3 times more likely for a person to die with driving or texting in that type of accident. You can even get your license revoked or suspended if you were caught or pulled over for texting and driving from the police. And it can raise your insurance if you are involved in an accident. And you can also be sued or fined if you were to be in a case to where you had to explain how the accident happened and what happened in the accident or what caused the accident scene. And this slide, it explains the stats of texting and driving. It's more than likely 21% or up of pedestrians dying between the year of 2019 to 22, even now to 2022. And there are almost at least 390,000 injuries involved every time there is an accident with texting and driving, almost every year. Reading or typing is a very dangerous thing because you are losing focus on driving, and while you have your hand on your phone, you're trying to maintain the balance of your vehicle in the road. So reading or typing on a handheld phone while driving, it's very, very dangerous due to the studies showing that it is very dangerous by 95%. And since figures have decreased from 2019 to at least 2.6% to 2.8% in 2020, the CDC estimates that each year there are 3,000 people that die as a result of texting and driving. And here are some certain ways to prevent and help others, not only others, but yourself if you have a bad habit of trying to text and drive. One way is to put your phone on Do Not Disturb. And when you put your phone on Do Not Disturb, it will give you the option to let others know and alarm others that you're driving and you're not able or available to respond to their to respond to their text message or even to their phone calls, just to secure safety while you're driving. And if you can't do that, you can always turn your phone on silent and just put it away, put it in a reachable place to where you're not too much having your focus on the phone. But if you are pulled over, or if you at your destination or you made a quick pit stop, you're able to reach for your phone just in case for anything to happen. And you can always connect your phone to a Bluetooth. If you have any type of updated car, you are able to have a Bluetooth to where you can connect your phone to your car, so that it can lower the chances of you grabbing your phone or your mobile data. And last but not least, you can always teach, learn, and just practice the habit of not grabbing your phone at all, so that you can just make sure that you're safe all the way around. And I hope you enjoyed my presentation on being informed to not text and drive.
And again, what we see is excellent research that many of you have provided, especially for persuading this week and informing last week. The obvious issue that is going to come up in Lexi's case are the dropped G's. Texting, drinking, driving. You'll have to make certain that you clean those up, because those can be really noticeable when people are paying attention to them. Let's go ahead And just listen now to the first minute of your speech again, paying close attention to the complete sentence structure.
Hi, my name is Alexis Martin, and I will be presenting my informative presentation on the importance of no texting and driving. So, owning a driver's license is like the basics of driving. So, when you have your driver's license, it indicates and it shows to others and police officers that you have been permitted to drive and you've been given permission to drive by yourself to any destination, whether it's in your hometown or city or in and out of state. And it tells them that you have learned and you are taught the knowledge of driving in permitted or even prohibited areas in and out of state, that you have passed the written part of the driver's test, and you know the knowledge and you understand the basics of driving and how to handle any situation on while you're driving.
And then she continues on. What we do notice from slide to slide in Lexi's case is the ability to remain extemporaneous while going through the bullet points. We've seen from many of your classmates throughout the term, some are going to be image-based. Some are going to be text-based with bullet points or short paragraphs, as we've seen from individuals earlier in this class session, or it might be a combination of both. What I say on the SAU speech evaluation checklist as text-image balance. But as long as you're not necessarily reading to me or reading to the audience, that's going to come in handy. Let's go back. In this case, title slide, importance of no texting and driving. Owning a driver's license, technically this is an informative speech, but it still gets the job done in terms of informing the audience. There's a tinge of persuasibility here. Owning a driver's license, transitioning to rule of texting and driving, the issue, quote, one of the main rules taught in your driver's manual explains texting is prohibited while you are driving your vehicle. So the rule and issue of texting and driving comes in very handy. We move on to the type of distraction from texting and driving. And if you've ever been a passenger in a vehicle with anyone who was either texting or they were looking at their interactive map, it can be really distracting. And if you're like me, you're looking for the driver's ed brake on the passenger side of the car because it feels like you are the more responsible person. And then we move on to the effects of texting and driving. Of course, we've seen that with a previous presentation with a young lady who lost an eye, but those are the effects of texting and driving. With the 4 bullet points, one of which is in boldface. Breaking the law of texting and driving varies with how bad the case is, which could lead to, I can read that, but I really have to lean in on my monitor. Tragedy stats from texting and driving, again, quality design, easily understandable, and to be conversational from. 95% part of the research. Practice, teach, relearn, not grabbing your phone. It's probably hard for individuals your age to stay away from being on the phone or just to turn it off, especially when you're on the road. But just one error, looking down, looking up, can really make the difference in a tragic way. All of you probably know of individuals who have been in that circumstance. Some were lucky, some weren't. And then we move on from ways to prevent texting and driving, eventually to, on this for a long time, and that is the end. Let's go, as we have with everyone else, let's listen to the last minute of the presentation or so. In this case, it's not persuasive, it's informative, but how is she encapsulating her thoughts on the topic of texting and driving?
too much having your focus on the phone, but if you are pulled over or if you at your destination or you made a quick pit stop, you're able to reach for your phone just in case for anything to happen. And you can always connect your phone to a Bluetooth. If you have any type of updated car, you are able to have a Bluetooth to where you can connect your phone to your car so that it can lower the chances of you grabbing your phone or your mobile data. And last but not least, you can always teach, learn, and just practice the habit of not grabbing your phone at all so that you can just make sure that you're safe all the way around. And I hope you enjoyed my presentation on being informed to not text and drive.
And that is her presentation with a timestamp. So she sent it to me. She sent it to me far in advance of the deadline. That's not an issue in terms of a grade. But be aware, Lexi, the drop G's, texting, drinking, driving. Double check whenever you or anyone else are doing those pronunciations. Always make a conscious effort to put the G's on the ends of the terms. That brings us to almost the end of class. I had indicated that because of computer updates and meetings that I've had, I'm recording a little bit later in the day, in this case, like 24 hours ago, recording during the evenings, but we will revert to Monday through Thursday from noon until 2 o'clock next week, and we'll be talking about that in just a moment. Let's go first of all to my Yahoo email account. I told you I was going to show you what I have received so far. Then we will go to my SAU email account because literally as I am recording this evening, someone sent me a persuasive speech. We're right at the end of class, so I'll go ahead and play that sometime on Monday. This, starting with Gabrielle and just moving down, is everything that I have received during the first summer session. If you see my name on the far left, it is because I forwarded it from my SAU email address. And you actually saw me do that with Braceland's speech on Wednesday. But this is what I have received. And when you send the self-evaluation speech critiques at some point at the end of next week, this is where you're going to send the data. And we'll be looking at some of these. Self-evaluations from a year ago, wildcard presentations from a year ago. Time moves by very quickly. Loom links, YouTube links. Always check your, and I'll do it right here, always check your own sent email files, because if you don't see a video played in class of a graded presentation, it's because I did not receive it. It's that simple. With all of you being my content creators and ideally showing improvement with content delivery and visuals during this class, I want everyone to see what you're doing in real time. Which brings us to my SAU account. Literally just received this. A Loom link to Henri's speech. And for some of you, I'll probably get the correct pronunciations sometime during the last week, but this is a link to her persuasive speech. Chores should be paid. I think any of us who did chores would agree with that. But Henri, I'll play this at the end of class on Monday. And some of you, such as Zamori, have indicated, did you get the video in Zamori? I sent the email, as you can see, to your Gmail account, I did not receive it. So please make certain that I get it by Monday. And like with Henre's, and I'll show you what I do with hers, the same as with our last class session with Bracelin, I'll just take this and send it to my Yahoo account. And now we'll go back into my Yahoo account. You can see this in real time. I'll go to the inbox, and there it is. Star it, mark it, and then move it to this file. That way I know I've got all of the information. Come back down to the speech course, and there it is. And I'll leave it in boldface. So anything that you need to know is right here for your own use. I feel like I want you to know that I save everything. And if you send it to the proper address, I'll get it. Now I can show you this. Occasionally, I'll go to my spam, where the Yahoo does not necessarily recognize your address. And I've retrieved a couple of them and placed them eventually in that file. Two more bits of interactivity. Twitter is first. It is not a requirement that you use Twitter. There's a friendly face from earlier this week. Click on the hashtag for the course on Twitter and then go to latest. You can see that after our class period on Monday, this was the tweet that I sent out. In the professor's mode on Blackboard, I had taken an edited screenshot after class. As you can see, June 13th was Monday, and sent out this tweet. 12 of 19 scheduled course videos on Blackboard. Collaborate Ultra with Professor Reppert for viewing and research purposes, monitored in the Grade Center for class participation. You click on the hashtag, go to latest. Everything that I have done during the semester, including trying to help you out with website screenshots of all of the videos that are available, including anything that you do, is right here. And eventually some of your work is going to wind up either on my YouTube channel or on my website. Going back to the message that I sent out literally during the first week of the course. Going all the way back to eventually the course itinerary and the recording screenshot and the syllabus. June of 2021, May of 2022. So I try to be as comprehensive as possible in giving you as much information as possible to maximize your effectiveness as a writer, a researcher, a speaker, and as I indicated at the outset of this class session, a storyteller. One more trip to the student preview mode on Blackboard, and that will be it until we get to the long 3-day weekend. The announcement will be updated in the student preview mode for the week of June 20th through the 23rd. My grades for the persuasive speech, for those of you who have presented leftover informative demonstrative speeches that I've shown over the past 2 days, all of those scores will be updated before we meet at noon on Monday in the classroom. At Tools, you can go to the grades, as you can here, or with Ultra, The recording sessions, which will include shortly session 15, Persuasive Speech, day 2, and what we have done during the term. And all of those videos will remain. Blackboard Collaborate Ultra is much more user-friendly than the original Blackboard. 2 more items to go to. Here is the course speech schedule, which will be second. The course itinerary is first. Friendly reminder that when it comes to the wildcard speech, that is your baby. Whatever you'd like to talk about, we'll just leave it right there. Monday and Tuesday, research and topic selection. Wednesday and Thursday, day 1, day 2. Back to the syllabus, to the course speech schedule. And this is the official roster that I've been working from over the past 4 weeks, coming up on week 5 with class sessions 16, 17, 18, and 19. So as we wrap up the proceedings with 1 week to go, a couple of friendly reminders, and I'll say it one more time. First and foremost, whenever you're using Loom, find a spot on the screen for the webcam, leave it there, don't move it, work your text, your graphics, your images around it so nothing is going to be obscured. Then make certain that on Google Slides or Microsoft PowerPoint, you are in the slideshow mode so we don't see all of your slides on the far left-hand side. When you are practicing, always have a nice balance from looking at your data on the computer and then trying to maintain eye contact into the webcam. Time management comes into play. Under no circumstances should you have a presentation longer than about 10 minutes. That's why if you've got in one portion of the screen your webcam on Loom, probably a good idea to manipulate the timer so it's right next to the webcam or directly under it. The wildcard speech ideally is going to be the best overall presentation that you give me, something that you talk about, that you're interested in. I told you earlier this week that I like the wildcard because with demonstrating, informing, and persuading, those are 3 really important elements of how you're going to be making presentations during your life. Now, the wildcard gives you the opportunity to expand that thoughtfulness, to expand that research, to expand that creativity and storytelling ability. All of these takes that you have been recording, whether it be on Loom or whether it be on YouTube, are going to, by nature, make you more comfortable, smoother in your delivery styles. Then when you are looking at time management, probably 6 to 7 minutes is more than enough. Manipulate all of those slides in such a way that is going to work to your advantage, looking into the camera. If you do it properly, it's going to be your best friend, where you come across as likable, knowledgeable, thoughtful, authoritative, someone who is the same in front of the camera as they are in everyday conversation. And that's what public speaking is, formalized conversation. Keep all of that in mind as you are putting your material together for next week. Slides, titles, course, name, term, all of that matters. No one's grades are cast in stone. We'll look at wildcard research on Monday, in addition to some background information related to the self-evaluation speech critiques. I'm seeing positive things, but obviously there are going to be elements on which we can all improve. So let's make certain, as I've told you all during the term, that we finish in style. Wildcard speech week begins on Monday at noon. Enough of this late night stuff, but it couldn't be helped. Good luck as we enter the final week of the term, and keep in mind, Double check your files. If there are any openings and I don't have them, it's going to be listed as a 0. But don't give me everything during the last week. That's unfair to everyone else. Not that anyone would, but just make certain that if there are unique circumstances, you let me know, either to my SAU or Yahoo email accounts. 15 down, 4 to go. The summer goes by very quickly. As for SPCH 1113, Introduction to Public Speaking during the first summer session of 2022, that concludes the recording session for today. A nice long weekend. We will resume at noon on Monday.